Hey guys, welcome back. Kalen Compass here. If you don't know who I am, I'm a published author and coach. In today's video, I want to talk about, we've got 7 months left here in 2024. We're about to enter June, and I want to talk about how you can change your life, how you can be in a different position by the end of December of this year, fundamentally, both internally and externally, by doing this one thing. Real quick, if you don't know who I am, I basically struggled throughout my 20s, spent that entire decade trying to figure out what it was to be a man that I'm proud of, to really discover the fundamentals in life that are going to lead to success. I ended up being a male dancer for 6 years after I graduated college, graduated with a 3.9 GPA, went on, became a male dancer. Yeah, the kind, like Magic Mike, dude, taking clothes off, was a published romance author, modeled on books. I was in movies, kind of a mini, celebrity for a while. And that ran its course. And I was forced to look in the mirror. I was forced to sort of have a come to Jesus, if you will, with myself. And I just decided I didn't like my life. And I went on a journey. And that journey led me to where I am today, where I'm really passing the things along that helped me so that I can hopefully help you get the result that you want in your life also. Now, this specifically applies to people who own businesses, are in performance-based compensation, because that's nearest to my heart. I've not really ever worked for anybody after college. And so I love helping people that are in positions to be rewarded and compensated based off of their effort. That is what I love. I love people that work hard, and truthfully, for most people, they just need a little bit of help in the fundamentals, because you probably already have all the high-level skills in order to rapidly transform your life. So, guys, today, there's one thing that you can do in these next 7 months that is going to change your life. And it's going to sound simple when I tell you. It's going to sound simple, and you're going to think, man, is it really that simple? But it is. And that one thing is to raise your standards. Like I said, sounds simple. Raise your standards. What does that mean, Kalen? What does that mean to me? How do I do that? Well, that's a great question. I have a whole pillar in my book on this. And just to show you, it's not really a small book. It's rather large. I got it all bookmarked up here. I actually read my own book just because it helps. It helps to review these things. No matter, even though I wrote it, it's like, man, I go back through and I read it and I'm like, wow, that was really helpful. Even though I wrote it, because we need to constantly be reminded of the fundamentals. What does it mean to raise your standards? Well, nearly everybody has heard the saying, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend most time with. What you get in life is so often a direct reflection of the expectations of your peer group. When you raise your standards, you change your peer group. When you raise your standards, you change your relationship with that person in your life, or you set a new standard for the person that you're going to have in your life. I don't know why we just got that bubble there, guys. You create a new standard there. That's part of it. And that new standard is, if you're making 50 sales calls a day, maybe you need to make 100. If you are only doing, say, $500,000 a year in your business, well, maybe you have a new standard that you need to get to $1 million. You don't even have to know how. You just have to say, this is a standard that I set for myself, and I'm going to find a way. That's how people come to me, and they say, hey, I want to get in shape. So I have my fitness program, Iconic American Physique, and they say, I don't know how to do this, but I know that it's a new standard. And we go from there and we transform their physique into something that's iconic, that really has an iconic American physique, that's powerful, where you have that unwavering confidence, you build an unstoppable mindset. But when I say raise your standards, a lot of people, they're like, I don't know where to start. So I'm going to pull open my book real quick and just go to the table of contents. In my book, I've got implement non-negotiable standards. That's the second pillar. And I'll just go ahead and tell you the standards that I have here, and I'll kind of walk you through them. First one, take responsibility and extreme ownership. Guys, this seems basic, right? Like, take responsibility and extreme ownership. If you want to change your life by the end of 2024, if you want to actually be in a different place, both internally and externally, start taking responsibility. Start acting as if everything is your responsibility. It doesn't matter whether it's your fault or not. That has no relevance on getting you the results that you want in life. And if you want massive results, you have to take responsibility. And when I implemented this, when I started living this way, dude, my life exploded. I started making more money, had better relationships, brought all the things into my life that I wanted because I bought in. This is a belief that I had to adopt because I wasn't taught this. Yeah, my parents told me take responsibility, but then they would model not taking responsibility. I wonder if you've been in the same sort of position. So many people out there, they'll tell you to take responsibility, but then they'll model a behavior that is irresponsible. They'll model a behavior that is non-responsible, where they're telling you one thing, but we both know that kids model behavior more than what their parents tell them. So it sounds great, but if you really want to start changing your life, you have to take responsibility. Next one, guys. Be unreasonable, intolerant, and unambiguous. What do I mean by that? Well, so many people out there, they want to have higher standards, but they're reasonable about them. They want to be reasonable. So yeah, sure, I guess I'll go do this thing, even though it violates their standards, even though it violates their values, they're still going to go do it because, well, I'm bored, might as well. No, if you have standards, that's what it means. They're non-negotiable. Now, I don't set standards for myself casually. I don't set them trivially. Like there's plenty of people out there online who will be like, oh, I never drink and I never do anything and I have no vices. And I'm like, yeah, bro, that's great. So do you drink coffee? Like, do you do these things? Everybody has vices. We just have different ones and that's okay. Now, if obviously a lot of things in excess are not okay. So you have to find that distinction in that line of what's acceptable and unacceptable to you. And then you have to be unreasonable about it. Same thing with being intolerant, unreasonable, intolerant, unambiguous. Why am I sitting here saying be intolerant? Because we've become a country that has lowered our standards so much that we're tolerant of everything. We're tolerant of our own mediocrity, even when it's hurting us, our family, our community, our country, and it's bullshit. There is power with intolerance. There is power in saying, no, this is not going to happen. I am not going to stand for this. I'm not going to be fat. I'm not going to be flabby. I'm not going to be tired all the time. I'm not going to have to take pharmaceutical drugs for the rest of my life. No, I choose to make millions of dollars a year. I choose to go to another level in my business, and I will be intolerant of not reaching that goal. That is what it's about, guys. That's what it's about. And you think, no, I'm gonna do this, and I want to get my business to 5 million a year, but I also want to go to brunch and I want to hang out in the middle of the day, and I don't really want to do any work. Are you tolerant or are you intolerant? Which one is it? And then lastly, be unambiguous. Why do I say unambiguous? Because most people, to steal a quote from Robert Brault, he says most people are kept from their goals, not by obstacles, but by a clear path to a lesser goal. Most people have ambiguity everywhere in their life. They're not really sure where they stand in their relationship. They're not really sure where they stand in their business. They're not really certain where they stand in all of these things. And when you get unambiguous about a goal, when you get clarity, guys, this is about clarity, and clarity is a freaking superpower. When you have clarity, you know exactly what you need to do. So couple those together. You've got clarity. You know exactly what to do. You are unreasonable about that task. People will tell you, no, this can't be done. Think about Apple. Think about all the great companies. Everybody told them they couldn't do it. Everybody told Walt Disney he couldn't do it. Everybody said Apple couldn't do it. Everybody said, everybody was against these people until they weren't. And that's where you have to be unreasonable. If you have a vision, you have to be unreasonable about that. And then you have to be intolerant of not bringing that into reality. So the next pillar here is to embrace the obsession, right? So I'm just going through here on if it were me, and this is the book that I wrote that I most needed, I needed to hear this years ago. And so that's why I put it in here. Embrace the obsession. There is nothing wrong with being obsessed. It's become a pejorative in our society. It has become something that people are ashamed to be obsessed, to show their passion, to be interested. And there's a difference between being passionate and obsessed. People that are passionate, they only do it when it's convenient, when they're feeling passionate. People that are obsessed, you can't stop them. There is nothing that you can put in their way that they will not overcome because they are obsessed. Obsession is something to be sought after. It's not something that should be put down, that should be minimized. Obsession is a superpower. And when you become obsessed with growing your business, when you become obsessed with having the best relationship ever, when you become obsessed with being the better version of yourself, I promise you, it is amazing what you can accomplish. And I truly believe this because I believe there is greatness within you. My whole book is based off the fact that I believe people can have redemption. I believe people can grow. I believe people can change. And I believe that because I've gone through my own personal transformation. I've lived a wild life and I've totally transformed myself. I've gone from, being in the gutter at times to how I am now. And guys, I'm telling you, it's not as far as you think, but it does take a level of commitment that's a step up than most people think. And that's where it's important to raise your standards. It's important to raise your standards because the level of commitment that it takes, so many people underestimate it. And when it gets a little bit hard, they quit. And when you get obsessed with something, there is no quitting. When you get obsessed with something, something has you. You don't have it. And that is important. And you don't even have to know what it is. You can just actually start embracing being obsessed about being the best version of yourself, about improving your life. And you can just start with little daily habits. And these daily habits compound so that eventually you will find the thing that you were meant to do. You will find the vehicle with which to exploit your talents, your gifts, your blessings. And I promise you, it will change your life. Next one, guys, tell the truth. Seems simple, seems obvious. Hey, raise your standards, tell the truth, bro. Yeah, I know. But guess what? So many people out there are lying to themselves. And learning to tell myself the truth was one of the most painful existential crises that I've ever faced. Because it's hard to tell yourself the truth. It's hard to admit, hey, I spent a decade of my life doing stupid shit. It's hard to say, hey, I need to have these hard conversations with somebody. It's easy to tell that little white lie. And guys, I'm not perfect. I still find myself, at times struggling to hold these standards. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that we live by them and we get better every single day. And again, this doesn't have to be your standard, but it is one of mine. Tell the truth. And when I started implementing that, I could no longer lie about trivial stuff. I could no longer make these white lies. And I had to look in the mirror and I could no longer lie to myself about where I was, who I was at, where I was at. I could no longer lie to myself that I was doing okay when I didn't feel like I was doing okay, when I felt like I was wasting my potential. It forced me to be honest with myself, and having that honest conversation with yourself about the facts, about the truth, may be one of the most powerful things you ever do. Next standard to improve: demand orderliness, discipline, and professionalism. Sorry, I'm reading out of the book here. It's been a minute since I've looked at it. Guys, really simple. If your life is chaotic, if you don't have discipline, if you don't have professionalism, how do you expect to be the type of person that commands respect? It's simple. You won't. So you have to be orderly. Now, the degree to which you are orderly, again, that depends. Some people would say my bedroom's disorderly. Other people would say, hey, it's way cleaner than mine. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I feel like I live my life and that it has order. I have discipline. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be there on time. and I'm going to show up and I'm going to act like a fucking professional. Why? Because I wasn't raised to know how to get results in life, but I taught them to myself. I read hundreds or thousands, more likely, of books. And I've distilled down the concepts that are most important for me. I want to act like a professional. Why? Well, because I want people to treat me like I'm a professional. I want to show up like a professional. People like being around somebody who is orderly, disciplined, and professional. Why? Everything seems to work around those people. Think about it in your life. Do you know somebody that everything seems to work around them? I bet you do. And what do people like about that? They like that person. They don't like somebody who's overly regimented. They don't like somebody who's, overly nitpicky and worries about small details. No, I mean, that person, a person that focuses on small things will lead a small life. But you do have to have this degree of orderliness to your life. You should have things in place. People should know that you're disciplined. That's one reason I get stopped every time I go out in the city. Every single time. People ask me about my physique. They ask me about my body. They ask me how they can get results. Why did they do that? Because I'm a freaking walking billboard of the fact that I do demand orderliness. I do demand discipline from myself, and I act like a professional. I carry myself like a professional, which means that I exude confidence. I exude a commanding status. And I can't tell you the benefits that gets because it just attracts people to you. So many of us guys, we're used to going out there and pursue. But, I live up here outside of Boise, Idaho, and I've got turkeys in my backyard all the time. Well, what do the male turkeys do? The male turkeys spread their feathers and they attract. And I don't actually know that much about turkeys, but they do. They show off. They attract. And the most successful people in business, they attract other people. They attract talent. They attract people that want to work with them and be around them because they have these attributes. They have every attribute that I'm sitting here and telling you about right now. So guys, last thing to raise your standard, start acting like your own hero. Like, what would your own hero do? Start acting like that, and it'll start changing your life. How do I know? Because that's what I did. And that doesn't mean trying to create some scenario where it's unrealistic, because I know me. I do well with a lot of autonomy. I like a lot of freedom. I like a lot of latitude in my schedule. That's who I am. That's how I structure my life. That's how I structure my business. Why do I do that? Well, because that's within my values. But, pardon me there. But guys, I do this because I'm trying to act like my own hero. And my own hero isn't perfect. They just get better over time with more and more iterations. And that's part of that process. So when you start doing this, you start acting like your own hero. It's not like, oh, I've got to give up coffee. I've got to do a 3-hour morning routine. I can't ever drink. I need to be celibate. I need all of these things. People just should all over themselves. That's not what this is about. It's simply about raising your standards up a notch that are within your values. It doesn't mean that you have to eat this perfect diet for the end of time. You can only do this because it's the only diet and you've got to raise your standards. No, this isn't about being regimented. It's not about being dogmatic. What it is about saying, hey, I just want to get a little bit better each and every day. But guess what? I understand that I'll have days where I fall off, and that's okay. I'm not going to hold that against myself. What I am going to do is say, dude, I was a bitch yesterday, but today I'm better. And that's okay. And if you just did that, if you just cut down on 20% of the negative things that were in your life, the big things, I'm not talking about all the little stuff, guys, the big things that you're like, dude, this is a big leak on my life. If you cut those things out and you raise your standards for the type of peer group that you have, for your relationships, for the type of conversations that you're going to have, for the things that you're going to see on social media, for the shows that you're going to watch, you would be amazed at how fast your life transforms. If you set a new standard of saying, hey, the only things that I'm going to have on my social media are things that help me learn how to run my business better. If you were to look at my Instagram, all I see is direct marketing, YouTube stuff, coaching stuff. Like, it is all that. And I know other people, all they see is junk. But when I go online, all I see is value. And all I see is value because that's a standard that I set for myself. And I said, hey, this is what I want to see because I'm out to do something big. I'm out to live the biggest life that I can. And the only way to do that is if I'm constantly getting better, I'm constantly iterating, and that's a form of leverage. And those are the things that I believe can change your life. If you take 7 months and you just go over the things that I just said, if you just implement these standards, even if you only implement one, even if you only start taking responsibility, like extreme responsibility, extreme ownership, by the end of 2024, your life will objectively never be the same. So, guys, hope this helps. Be great.